What happens when the alien takes you into the hive? Well, judging from what we saw in the movies and comic books, this usually means you're going to become a host for a face hugger. You're placed either in a wall or floor covered in a sticky substance which prevents you from escaping. The xenomorph is known to be very hostile and aggressive, but there was a very unique story about the xenomorph's actions within the hive. This occurred in the comic book Aliens Labyrinth. While most of the story focuses on Dr. Paul Church's experiments on aliens, there is a section of the story that goes deep into how he survived his time within the alien hive, and the events that unfold give us a deeper look into the xenomorph's behavior. It was 32 years ago, and Paul Church was only 20 years old at the time. His parents were terraformers, and along with the crew and synthetic, they all spent most of their time aboard the ship called the Incunabulum. Ever since he was a teenager, Paul Church wanted to be a scientist. He even got a small grant from the government. His work was around immunization research. Before they headed back to RLW 1289, the ship had to make one stop on a moon that was terraformed 15 years ago. It was a routine mission, so no trouble was expected. Upon landing, they noticed another ship was already here, possibly for quite some time, and without warning, aliens would swarm the group and they get abducted. The crew is brought into the hive. The aliens would sniff, lick, and probe them. They never heard of alien behavior like this, so this was indeed very strange and different. As everyone was separated, Paul Church was brought into the bowels of the hive, only for his eyes to see what happened to the crew from the other ship. Their bodies were bloated, mutilated, and hung all over the place. It's possible that some of them were still breathing. As Paul was strung up against the wall with some sticky substance, he was sure the aliens would return to end his life. But then, the most unexpected thing happened next. One alien would use the bloated bodies as a food source, and this was fed to Paul to keep him alive. This was one of the many strange behaviors the xenomorph had displayed, and it certainly would not be the last. After spending so much time in the hive, Paul was beginning to give up on any hope of escape. He longed for the moment of death. He didn't even notice they carried him somewhere else. Inside the breeding pen, he found Lois Clark. She was still alive, barely. Her stomach was swollen, and right then she gave birth to a new alien species. But these ones were different, but also inadequate. As they did not survive more than an hour, the aliens were trying to create more of their kind, because something was wrong in the hive. Paul was later taken to that chamber with the sticky pool he saw earlier, and without hesitation, he emulated the aliens, taking the fluid into his mouth and feeding it to one of the mutilated bodies. His action persuaded the aliens that he was no longer a threat. Paul would make use of this freedom by gathering knowledge within the hive. He discovered the leech-like things in the fluid secreted a solvent which the aliens used as a medicine. He also found a black mold that was destroying the aliens. Paul had found something he could use against them. If things could not get any stranger, Paul was later brought to see his mother. The aliens wanted him to mate with his mother, but instead, he did the only thing he could do. He took her life. His actions were not favored by the aliens, and so he was taken away for embryo implantation. The sickness running through the hive even affected the facehuggers, to a point where they needed assistance. As the black mold spread through the hive, one by one, the aliens would not survive. Paul used this chance to escape once and for all. Now aboard his ship, which is still functional with power, the calendar showed he was gone for a total of 43 days, and so he sent out a distress signal. He then cleansed his body in 4 hours and patched his wounds. By using the ultrasound, he examined the alien larva in his chest. It was now dead and rotting. He had to remove it somehow. Paul had no surgical experience at all, but he used the information and tools he could get and set to work. The operation took 7 hours, but was a complete success. 1 month later, a rescue party arrived. The smugglers were the ones responsible for the hive. The company considered his experience most valuable, so Paul was compensated for what he went through, and then received a full biomechanical makeover, and has studied aliens ever since. Despite his rather harsh and strict way of running his facility, Dr. Paul Church was a brilliant scientist. His discoveries gave us details on various topics around the xenomorph. For example, aliens tend to expire if they are removed from their clan for long periods of time. A xenomorph would choose survival over a food source, and when presented with food or a means of escape, they would feed, and even bathe in the victim's remains. But gorging in its weakened state could lead to the alien not surviving, so it was limited to how much it could eat. Aliens would almost always attack a target that is perceived as a threat. Since aliens have a way of communicating telepathically, they also have a way of sensing the fear in other animals. During the dissection of an alien, he discovered the alien can pick up E-waves. This was the reason they were affected by electromagnetic fields. The dorsal area was suspected to be what the alien has instead of a brain, because the skull was full of organs. Dr. Church was trying to find a way of domesticating the aliens to tame them and control them. So that covers the story of some very unusual xenomorph behavior and how Dr. Paul Church survived his time within the alien hive. It also marks one of the few times someone has survived an alien chestburster. I want to know what you thought about how the xenomorphs acted in this story. Put your thoughts in the comments section. Now, if you want to see more videos like this, then subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. This way, you don't miss a video. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Sometimes I post other stuff on there. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, or Acid Glow, and I'll see you in the next video.